Here, coming another, I think, Shivaji, I may say 5 minutes to you because we are running out of time. But what are few layer nutritional aspects and concepts, and to improve our profitability in layers? This is the topic given to me. Before actually proceed to the topic as such, I would like to emphasize the necessity of maintaining the uniform body weight as well as the optimum standard body weight. So this is the, in my opinion, out of the experience of maybe 32 years in the poultry industry, I realize the importance of maintaining the standard body weight as per the strain is the first most important thing. Then apart from that, and we have certain parameters we need to consider, starting from the brooding, feeding, other aspects like ventilation and quality of water, light intensity, and so on, so forth, and the frequency of the feeding. These are the certain things we need to consider to get the standard body weight. But it's not mere getting the body weight may not be the sole solution, but the uniformity is the most important aspect. That means at least minimum you should have maybe 85% up to 90%. If you have the uniformity, you can get the sustainability of the production, whatever we are talking about. Unless the uniformity is there, but if you are concentrating only average body weight of the bird, of the flock as a whole, if the more uniformity, you will never get the peak production. At the same time, you may not able to sustain for longer period the peak. So if you have the problem with the uniformity is an issue, we need to grade the birds at different age so that intermittently you need to grade the birds and again go for the different plane of nutrition to the birds which are below the standard body weights. This is one thing which we need to consider. So this is just these two slides I tried to place here just to sensitize, to rather emphasize the need of maintaining the standard and uniform body weights. Then later on I will go to the specific topic given to me. So here, so these are the 6 or 5 aspects which I will be dealing. May not be, because layer nutrition is very big area where which we may need to take so much of time. Here I am going to discuss about the energy as the density of the feed, how it is going to affect the bird performance, the protein, that means amino acids, essential amino acids, as well as the alternative protein sources. What are the main alternative protein sources which we can think? And the calcium and phosphorus nutrition, that is also the third or most important area which I am going to discuss, and enzymes and exercise, because often in layers if we are talking about the exercise is one aspect, and where the pullet eggs, if they are low and we are losing heavily, and if the exercise is more after post peak production and we lose because the more breakages. So these are the broadly areas which I am going to talk about. So here the nutrient density. So friends, here I am going to emphasize here, this is the data which I am going to make presentation, is the data which we have generated primarily, and we already published the literature, even the articles are available in the public domain. One can have if they want more and more details out of my presentation. So here we did the trial from 21 to 70 weeks of age. The primary focus of this experiment was to know from the graded level of dietary energy and also the protein and amino acid in a constant ratio, how we are going to get the production. So then once we have the flock, if you are aiming for the production of 330 eggs, and we can have this kind of plane of nutrition, and if you are happy with that maybe 300 eggs, and we can have the different plane of nutrition. So that means the layers, they respond very well, particularly the completely when you are giving as a package energy, protein, amino acids put together. But the problem is, are they really economical if you are going for a very high levels? Though you may get more production, but because we are going to have the bigger body weight birds, and which are prone for summer stress, which we are going to discuss much later. So the second aspect is brown layers. Of course, this brown layer is not very common in our country, but very recently in December we concluded this trial where we fed 2550 to 2850 kilocalories energy. So, but are they really, do they need very high levels of energy? So the egg production was not affected. And the feed, of course, there is a reduction in the feed intake significantly, but what is the reduction is almost less than 2 grams. To save the 2 grams, do we really need to go for very high levels of energy? That is one question one has to answer. If you are giving the very high levels of energy, again we are going to have them around 60 grams more body weight. Out of that, 10 gram is the fat deposition. If the more fat, abdominal fat, and the birds are more prone for heat stress, that is not at all desirable. Of course, this is not may not be relevant to our country, but of course this we did for some other contest. So the second, the important area is the protein. So once we are having the, we conduct the trial in the winter season, this 20 to 30, 35 weeks of age during the peak egg production, where we went 14.11 to almost 16.34% protein we have given. If you see, none of the periods in egg production was significantly affected because we did the trial during the winter season. I will give the different scenario where the same levels of protein was given during summer season. Do they really respond to the same way? We will see, and I will also give some very interesting data later on. So in the protein, of course, the lysine and methionine, we did the trials. This we published in Journal of Applied Poultry Research. At the lysine level, we increased 0.65 to 0.8%. Similarly, methionine, we increased to 0.3 to 0.4%. So there was no significant response in egg production at both the places. This we did almost complete laying period of 21 to 72 weeks of age. But there is a linear increase in the egg size, but the increase is only to the tune of only 1 gram. Even the methionine also, we always believe that methionine, whenever there is an issue of pullet eggs, we tend to increase the methionine, but of course what is its effect is maximum hardly 1 gram we can increase by increasing the 0.1%. Is it really worth? We have to, economically we have to understand. So with the help of Evonik people, this trial was conducted almost 5-6 years back during the peak production phase. What we have given, the protein level we have given from 13.58 to almost 17% protein. But what we have done, the balanced protein means we have gone for the balancing the amino acid up to 5th limiting amino acid like methionine, threonine, lysine, tryptophan, and valine also we included to make the uniform ratio as per the standards of the specific strain. So here also if you see the data, the egg production, feed intake, body weight gain, these parameters were not at all affected by reducing the dietary protein up to 13.58%, provided if you balance the amino acids up to the 5th limiting amino acid, lysine, methionine, threonine, tryptophan, even up to valine. So this is what I was telling. Do they really, can we reduce the protein? Because common saying, like any typical nutritionist, we always believe that we need to reduce the dietary protein level in the diet, particularly during summer season. To what extent we can reduce, that is the question. So in this case, what we have done, from 17.52, we reduced up to 14.5%. Of course, we maintained the lysine and methionine level in proportion to the dietary protein levels. And if you see at 14.5%, there was a significant, even up to 15% also, there was a significant reduction in the egg production. This trial was done for 3 months period. But we had to, not only the reduction in the egg production, and there was almost 20 to 23% mortality we observed at this lower level of the dietary protein. Here the primary reason was there was a significant reduction in the feed intake during the summer season, where the average feed intake during the season was around 83 grams. So 83 grams into 14% is coming to less than 11%. So that may not be adequate, not only for production, even for the sustainability and survivability of the bird. So even 15% is also not adequate. We have to go for a minimum of around 16.5% when the feed intake is around 80 or less than 80 grams during peak summer season. So then in couple of 2 alternate protein ingredients which I am going to make presentation now. So this was the trial which we have done from 25 to 54 weeks of age, DDGS from rice. So this DDGS, one should be very, very cautious about the particular DDGS because it is prone for many contamination, particularly mycotoxins. So when the DDGS is good quality, which means there is no apparent detectable quantities of the mycotoxin in the DDGS, when this we included up to 16% from 0 to 4, 5, 12 and 16%. and proportionately the soybean meal was almost zero at the higher level of DDGS in the diet. But here also I draw the attention of the August House is here we have used only wheat and wheat bran. There was no soybean. But still you can see how the production we got. So the DDGS, here you can see the significant reduction in the egg production whenever we are going for the total replacement of maize, soybean with the DDGS at 16% level. Even also the feed efficiency was poor. Even we got a significant drop in the egg, body weight, negative body weight. That means body weight gain decreased. And also the feather score, that means more the feather loss we observed, because almost more than 30% of the feather loss was observed when we totally replaced the soybean with DDGS, particularly at 16% level. The primary reason was, as I was telling, we used only wheat as the source of energy. There was no maize. So wheat is deficient in biotin. Similarly, DDGS, the digestibility of lysine particularly is very less in DDGS compared to the soybean. So the deficiency of probably lysine and as well as the deficiency of biotin together, they resulted in a reduction in the feather loss. So the second ingredient which I am going to make presentation is the guar meal. Then this we use at 10% level. The soybean we use as a control, and guar meal at different graded levels of total sulfur amino acids. 0.52 we increase up to 0.1 additionally, 0.68. So as you see, the egg production progressively increased with an increase in the lysine level, total sulfur amino acid, methionine level in the diet. But if even at the 0.1% additional inclusion also, the production was not at par with that of soybean meal, which means we can marginally increase the egg production by supplementing methionine in the diet, but not to the complete the level of soybean meal production. So here this is the practically any typical researcher as me or maybe anybody or Punendra Saab, whoever it may be, when we are doing any trial, let it be energy source for maize or maybe protein source for soybean, and we at a time we replace only one protein ingredient, we incorporate only protein, maybe DDGS or maybe guar meal. But practically industry and we use multiple alternate sources together. That means practically we use alternate protein mix. So to simulate this condition, we did three trials, consecutively 3 trials, where we used soybean, we made an alternate protein mix using cotton seed meal, DDGS and rapeseed meal, 3:2:1 ratio. So that mix we added 15, 20 and 25% in the diet. If you see the performance, egg production, feed efficiency and egg weight, they were significantly dropped when we used beyond 15% level. So what we have done in the second experiment, this alternate protein sources, we increased the protein level in the diet from 14.5 to 16.5%, and we could see there is a progressive and significant increase in the egg production, which is equal or sometimes even better than the soybean meal. So that means whenever you are going for a higher levels of alternate protein sources together in the diet, we need to go for higher level of protein in the diet. Similarly, here we studied the essential amino acid. Essential amino acid means lysine, methionine and threonine. These 3 amino acids we increase in the alternate protein mix diet by from 100% to 115. That means 15% additionally we have given. If you see, there is a significantly drop in the reduction in the egg production by using the 100% like 20% of alternate protein mix. But when we increase this level of essential amino acid, we could see at 10% additional level, we got the similar egg production as well as similar feed efficiency compared to that of soybean meal. So the another aspect is like calcium. Calcium, which I am going to discuss, because the calcium usually, in my opinion, throughout the country, many people they use excess level of calcium. This excess level of calcium is certainly not only decrease the egg weight, and it will cause the pimpling on the eggshell surface, and if it is contaminated with magnesium or even fluorine, you will have the loose droppings, and they reduce not only the excess calcium will affect the shell quality, and they also reduce the activity of enzymes, both NSP and phytase. I have certain data for that. So this was published in Animal Feed Science and Technology. Here what we have done, without phytase, we increased the calcium level 3.5 to 4.25%. When you see, with increasing the dietary calcium 3.5 to 3.5 to 3.75, there is a significant increase in egg production. But after that, there is a trend of decline in the egg production, but may not be very conspicuous. But in presence of phytase, here, in presence of phytase, we got the maximum egg production at a 3.5% level. And with increasing the calcium level with phytase, there is a significant drop in the egg production. So the drop in egg production could be attributed to two reasons. One is the excess calcium reduced the activity of the enzyme. That's why we got the negative response. Here also by this, why we are telling here, without phytase we got 3.75. And with phytase 3.5, that which means approximately 0.25% of calcium was released because by virtue of supplementing phytase. So that means even effectively the level of calcium here with the phytase is 4.25 or 4.5. At these levels, certainly the egg production might have decreased significantly because of the negative effect. So, so what is the optimum level of calcium? Here if you see 3.25 to again 4.5%, this we studied early egg production 20 to 55 weeks, and none of the egg production shell quality parameters were affected, but the bone ash and bone breaking strength was significantly reduced at that 3.25% level, but at a 3.5 and other percent there was no additional benefit. So the another most important element, the mineral which I like the most is the phosphorus. This excess phosphorus is also as bad as the tough. Of course, now practically many farmers in the industry is not using very excess phosphorus level, but for theoretical purpose it is it acts as a crystal poison in the shell gland, so depress the calcium carbonate formation and decrease the shell quality whenever it is increasing. I will show some data for that. And they reduce the, like calcium and excess phosphorus also, they reduce the activity of phytase. So this is the trial which we have done for my PhD almost two and a half decades back approximately. When we reduced the calcium 0.2 to 0.25 to 0.2, there was no significant drop in egg production, which means 0.25% was just adequate. But when I made presentation this 2 decades back and everybody criticized, fortunately that at that point of time, now subsequently many people, even now I think large majority of people, they believed and they are using this level of available phosphorus. Without affecting egg production and shell quality, we can reduce phosphorus to 0.2% or even more. So subsequently, since that was a very old data, and 2019 we again published on British Poultry Science. Here we have gone for very graded level of very different concentration 0.15 to 0.35. Through the regression equation, and we predicted the calcium level maximum is 0.25%. Through when you are considering all the parameters, egg production from 22 to 72 weeks of age, even it's not beyond 0.25%. So at these levels, there was no significant effect of shell quality as well as the bone mineralization at the end of 72 weeks of age. That means even without having the negative effect on not only egg production, shell quality, even the bone health, bone breakage, even cage layer fatigue, no symptoms we could see by using in the lower level of energy, protein in the diet, phosphorus. So the fifth aspect is the enzymes. Enzymes, particularly the phytase, is a commodity nowadays, everybody uses. But recently we need to understand the phytase superdosing, the effect we have demonstrated. We did more than almost 10 trials. In broilers particularly, we could get almost more than 100 to 150 grams additional body weight, even the feed efficiency to the tune of 7 to 10 units. Of course, that is clearly demonstrated in case of broilers. In layers, of course, the trial we have not done anything. And this also, for my PhD, this is perhaps the first publication in our country. Even by using the phytase, we used at that time 250 grams. People may wonder why we have used so levels, because that was the technology, that was the unit of expression at that point of time. With the 250 units itself, we could able to get the egg production normal compared to that of the control having the required level of 9 pp, which was 0.2 according to my publication results. Subsequently, my colleague Dr. Panda, he also did the trials from 0.25% to 0.3% of non-phytate phosphorus. Here also, how when we supplemented 0.12% phosphorus with phytase, and we got the egg production similar to that of the 0.3% or even 0.18%. So that means there is a great potential of usage of phytase. So that here, very recently, with the help of Nataraja from Bengaluru, and we did one trial, no to DCP, not only DCP, MCP or any inorganic phosphorus. So what we have done, and we used 0.3 to 36 as the regular level of phosphorus, and we reduced 0.25 to 0.12% with to these levels, and we supplemented phytase. If you see, this is the DCP level was 0 at 0.12% level, and these are the calcium level we used, and we supplemented phytase to the low phosphorus diets. So the results clearly demonstrated egg production, feed intake, shell quality and TBI ash. None of the parameters were significantly depressed. Rather, it maintained the same. Particularly, I give the emphasis here 0.12% non-phytate phosphorus, which has no DCP. With phytase, we could get the equal performance as that of in terms of egg production, feed intake, shell quality, as well as the tibia strength. In layers, we did one enzymes, NSP enzyme with cocktail enzyme with that of phytase also, where we reduced the energy level 100 calories, protein 0.75 and phosphorus 0.1%, for which we reduced the maize around say 70 calories maize and 41 kgs soybean and 7 kgs of MCP. So total this was compensated with the DORB. So if you see the results here, compared to the control, the basal diet, there was a significant reduction in egg production, feed intake, as well as the shell egg mass. But when we supplemented with enzyme, and there is a significant improvement almost at all levels. So when we calculated the cost economics of this enzyme supplementation, we could able to save almost 11 paisa per egg by using the enzyme and reducing the matrix values of energy, protein as well as phosphorus. So another experiment with enzymes in like we reduced 70 calories and 0.6% of protein, and when we supplemented, and we could get with enzyme dosage, and we could get almost equal, rather better than that of the control diet. So here I would like to stress one aspect is majority of the occasions, because of maybe cost economic reason, most of the times people they suggest, sir, you need not go to the dose of 100 grams, whatever has been recommended, you can also get the performance with 60 grams. But unfortunately, this dosage was established with a lot of like research data, with repeated trials and validation. And if you are using that maximum level as per the requirement, and you will get the best production compared to the compromised dose. So what I mean to say, you need to go for the exactly prescribed dose as per the company standards. And if somebody is trying to suggest the suboptimal dose, I think we may not get the optimum response as they claim on the brochure. So the third aspect, like final aspect, is egg size, how to maintain the optimum egg size. So here what we have done, we reduced the dietary protein from 18 to 15%. There was no problem in the egg production and feed intake, but the egg size was significantly reduced at the lower level of protein. But here also the reduction is in less than 1 gram. But even that difference was not found when the complete production cycle of 10 months when we studied. It remained almost the same. Similarly, here also this in second experiment what we have done 34 to 49 weeks of age and we studied, and with the graded level of protein 15, 16.5 and 17.5. Even the difference in the significant improvement in egg size we observed at the lower level of like at the younger age compared to when the birds are matured. Here also with dose response increase in the egg size we observed here. Similarly, methionine also, as I told, there is an increase in egg size, but the increase in even less than 1 gram. When we are supplementing the phytase, there is also, this is the maximum egg response, egg weight we got when we used the phytase only compared to any other nutrients. At the lowest level also we could get almost 3 grams increase in the egg size, and here also 0.15% also there is an almost 3 gram increase in egg size. But other protein and other nutrients I could not get that much response. Similarly, here the NPP, if we are increasing the NPP, non-phytate phosphorus in the diet, and you could see there is a reduction in the egg weight of almost to the tune of 2.5 grams. Similarly, when you are increasing the dietary calcium level also, at the 4.25%, which majority of the people they recommend, there is a reduction in feed intake as well as there is a reduction in egg size. Here also the egg size reduction is even less than 1 gram. So finally, to conclude my presentation, so the layer respond to the nutrient density. Suppose if you are giving the better plane of nutrition under controlled management conditions, and you are certainly, birds are going to respond and you may get even 330x. That was the data we generated almost 15 years back. Even the response even could be more now. We need to consider the seasonal variation and the quantity of the feed intake the birds consuming, amino acid inclusion levels, which amino acid, what proportion you are including, and the energy level in the diet to fix the protein and amino acid level in the diet. DDGS, if it is a good quality, we can go up to 15% in the diet. And wheat can be, of course, this is the offshoot of my presentation. Wheat can be used as a total substitute for maize, provided we need to take care of the color. And we need to increase the dietary calcium level 1% or essential amino acid by 10% whenever we are going a mixture of alternative protein sources beyond at least maybe 10 to 15% than that in the diet to get the optimum performance. So this calcium level, in my opinion, there is no need of going for higher calcium level, 3.75 to 3.85 in the old air may be sufficient. Higher levels, certainly they have the negative impact, which we may not observe unless we have the control. So I strongly feel that there is no need of going for a higher level of calcium beyond this. So there is no need of inorganic phosphorus supplements whenever we are supplementing phytates in the diet in case of layers. Once they are attained the optimum body weight, there is no need of going for any inorganic phosphorus supplements with phytates. Egg size can be modulated to maximum to the tune of 2 to 3 grams maximum with protein, amino acids and phytates. But higher calcium level and higher NPP levels, they are going to reduce the egg size. So, here I would like to thank some of the people, those who supported with the research. C.V. Rao, Lakshmi Narasimha Poultry Farm, our Poultry Science Department where I did the PhD, and of course Ramadutta Poultry Research Farm. Thank you very much.